Let's do this.
I slept way too much. Like this,
well, I didn't work.
I could have been out for days.
After Thanksgiving morning, I didn't work at all, so I was sleeping in like no other.
Yeah, I didn't work Thanksgiving Day. After that, always not.
Something in 104 next door is bothering me real bad. So if I put my mask on this morning, it got better. So I'm going to try to do this without it. Guys, my turn now. Do you hear me? I'm going to try to explain how to do this without the mask on so you can hear me, but I might not be able to do that. So follow along, listen closely if I have to put it back on. For our second chapter in Excel, which is our last chapter in Excel, we'll be looking at formulas, functions, and formatting. Important stuff. So what we have left is this chapter in Excel. So we had 2 trainings for it, the formatting training and then formulas and functions, and 1 project. So the rough stitch clothing project is due next Wednesday. Next week will really be a week just to review and prepare for the final. Your hands-on exam can be being worked on. Remember, that's not something that you have to do during our final period, but our final SAM written exam is. Now, our final SAM written exam will be held during our final slot, which is December 11th, Tuesday at 11 a.m. So normal time, but not a normal day. December 11th at 11. Isn't that weird? So if you look at the OTC's final schedule, Monday is actually the last day of classes. So I don't know if they look at the Tuesday is the first day of finals being like a Monday. But let's double check because our class is Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Oh, look. Do you think it's Wednesday? Wednesday at 11. That's so much better. Let me switch that. That makes more sense. So Wednesday, December 12th at 11. I'm glad I brought it up. This final schedule can be very hard to read. Okay. So looking at our formulas, I'm going to just start going through the chapter here. Step by step. We're recording, so I'm going to open Excel. And we want to start with a blank worksheet. Now our worksheet, when we're done, is going to look like this. Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit. It's for Olivia's art supply. So we're going to be entering some information for the employees. Now we're going to start out entering employee names and dependents and hire dates and things like that that are consistent. And then we're going to fill in the rest of the information using formulas and some other facilities that are available in Excel. Now again, whenever we're creating a worksheet, we want to create an effective one. We want to make sure that we understand what's required. So we want the people who request the worksheet to provide those requirements. So for Olivia, she wanted to know where the calculations and things are coming from. She needed to know this information about her employees. So we started out with a sketch of what this worksheet is going to look like. So here we used, if you notice, X's to indicate the spots for string data like people's names and email addresses. We used 9s to indicate numbers. Notice in some of the columns, we have Z's and 9s, and the Z's are to indicate that we want the zeros to be suppressed. So 0 suppressed, we only want to see the non-zero data. So we have that nice layout of how we want this spreadsheet to look. Then we have a list of formulas and other items that might be important for this worksheet. So we've got it all lined out. We're pretty well set in our design, so we can start entering the data. So the first things that we're going to do are our worksheet title and subtitle. So just like in our last one, we're going to start in column or in cell A1. And I want to type Olivia's art supply here in column A1. And then we can arrow down or press enter to go down a row. And we want this next line to say salary report. Now they say to press the down arrow key to enter that title again. And with cell A3 right under our salary report line, we want to type our column headings. So we're going to start with an heading of employee. Now we can press the right arrow or tab to go to that next cell. We want our next cell to be email address. I'm going to press the right arrow key again. Now our C column is going to be dependents. And I'm going to press arrow. Our D column is going to be hours. Now on this heading, they want us to press Alt-Enter and type another line of data. And we're going to type the word worked. My Alt-Enter did not work properly. And then right arrow. Now when you click in that E column, you should see that hours worked turn into that taller column. So what did Alt-Enter do there for us? Notice it automatically turned on the word wrap. So by using Alt-Enter, we're telling Excel to word wrap in this cell. Now for our E column, we want our title to be hourly. Our F column will be gross pay. G will be federal tax. Bless you. H, state tax. I will be tax percent. It's just a percent sign. J will be net pay. And K will say hire date. E is hourly. Any others? Got them?
Could you zoom in?
Pardon?
Could you zoom in on
Sure. Can you see them better? Okay. Now we're going to enter some salary data here before we start doing a lot of formatting for this one, just the order they want us to do things. But in cell A4, we're going to put our first employee, and this is going to be Bennett, comma, Joanne. Now, after typing her name, we want to press the right arrow key twice to be in our dependents column. And we're going to say she has 2 dependents. Her hours worked is 64.25. Now her hourly pay rate, which is this hourly column, is $19.75. And her hire date, if we go way over, is 4/5/12. Now we have several employees to enter, so let's put their data in real quick. After Joanne, we have Fred, comma, Michael, 1 dependent, 80 hours worked. Oops, I'm going to type that 80.00. Doesn't matter. Gets rid of it anyways. We'll fix that. Hourly rate, $23.10. And the hire date, 5/7/13. Now our next one is Celine Emmanuel, Emmanuel. Celine. She has 0 dependents, worked 72.5 hours, 18.65 is the pay rate, 12/1/11. On Teresa has 3 dependents, worked 60 hours at $18 an hour, hire date of 1/3/14. There's a few more. I apologize, but this will let us get our formatting all correct and make sure that we can handle all these different solutions. Good test data. We have Samuel Mont. I'm not sure if that's how you say his name, but that sounds good. 2 dependents, 46 hours, 15.90 is a pay rate. Hire date, 12/3/10. 4 more. Otterman Faye, 0 dependents, 75 hours worked, 21.05 its pay rate. And this person was hired on 3/7/11. Rice, comma, James, 0 dependents, 80 hours worked, 22.50 pay rate. Hire date 2/5/11. Villanova Susan, 2 dependents, 74.25 hours worked. 21.02 is the hourly rate. 5604. And finally, our last one, Wanzu, I'm going to say it. And one dependent, 68 hours worked. 1843 is the pay rate, and 9/12/15 is the hire date. Sure. Can't see it? Let me zoom in a little more and see if you can see it. Can you see it? But we've got Bennett Joanne has 2 dependents, worked 64.25 hours, 19.75 is the pay rate, hire date 4/5/12. Fred, Michael. You're okay. Which one are you looking at?
Does it just say dependent?
That one says dependent. Can you see him, Kayla? Which one are you looking at? You sure? Because I know it's hard to see all these numbers, that's for sure. Okay, so if you notice, we didn't do any email addresses, and we didn't expand out this column A so that we can see these full names. So I want to make sure everybody's got them before we start working on the email address, because it is right there beside it. And it's a really cool feature in Excel. So we do all want to try this flash fill. So everybody's got the names in. We'll try it. So we saw in our first chapter that we could do the autofill in Excel, which was awesome, where we just clicked on the square down in the corner and dragged, and it automatically filled up the whole column with the data that we were hoping for. We can do the same thing with this flash fill, only it's even smarter. So let's try it with our email address column. What we want to do is our email address is formatted as the employee's first initial, then last name. So J. Bennett at email.com. After we type the first one, we're going to go down and enter in the second one. So that's going to be M. Fred, for Michael Fred, at email.com. And now we want to do this flash fill. Well, the flash fill is on our data ribbon. So click on your data ribbon, and you should see flash fill. Right now, I only have cell B6 selected. So let's see if that does anything. I'm going to click flash fill. Oh, it did them all. It did even my headings. So I'm going to Control Z that. In their example, they don't have that happen. So let me select them. I'm going to select these ones that we want to fill and use that flash fill tool. Oh, it says it doesn't see a pattern. So I'm just going to have to do the flash fill and then fix my headings. That should just be Olivia's Art Supply. So I'll delete the email address out of column B, and then salary report. So I'll delete that email address out of column B.
If you highlight B4 and 5 and all the way down to B12.
It does it correctly. Let's try it. So I've got B4 and 5 already having the email address. Stop it. Select that whole column. and use the flash fill. Nice. So it was limited. Everybody get it to work? No?
Okay. Okay, so check the first two. And exactly. Are you serious? I did this. No, go with that. And then highlight all of those down the top. And then
Especially the way they're doing it where they haven't going sideways.
I noticed on your sheet, your things on
What's that?
the way Excel is laid out, the format, color, like, you know, where they're using style.
so for your hours were.
Now, here's what it's
I think it's just how they've done it. So it's the 2016, so we're not on the 2019 yet. Are you looking at 2016 or 2019?
I think it's probably 2019.
Yeah. So we're still on the 2016.
Hopefully, whenever I transfer my laptop from
I don't
my
know when that.
school account back to my personal account, I just get back.
Hope so.
I really like the newer version.
No. Okay, so if you've got that flash fill to work, that's a really nice tool. Now, down at the bottom, we want to enter a few more titles. So after line 12, I want to go to cell A13, and I'm going to type the word totals. Underneath that, we're going to have highest and lowest and average. Now let's save. They want us to change, first of all, our tab down at the bottom. So I'm going to double click this tab. And we want it to say salary report. Press enter there. And then I want to right click on this tab and look at the tab color. And I want it to be green. It's green. Now let's save it. And we want to save this as Olivia's art supply salary report. Mhm. So we have a lot of calculations, a lot of formulas in this worksheet. That's good because we want to practice some. So we're going to try some different formats. So don't be surprised if we try the same calculation multiple ways. So let's start with cell F4. Our gross pay is going to be our hours worked times our hourly pay rate. So let's enter that formula in here for Bennett. I'm going to type the equal sign, and then I can actually type the whole thing. D4 times E4. And when I press enter, that calculation will display the results. Now, if I click on that cell, notice that it shows me the formula. So up here in the formula bar, I'm going to see that formula, but in the worksheet, I'm going to see the result of the formula. Does that work okay for everybody? Now, we saw the sum function. We could actually use a function here too. So we could click up here on our insert function, and we could say that we want to do what? Sum. I think there's a, they say there's a product function. So in the product function, I could use that, and I could say that I wanted to use the number in D5 and the number in E5. Let me do it right here. D5, and then click in this one and choose this number, E5, and then press enter. Now, if you look at that one, it did product of D5 and E5. Notice our results are exactly the same as saying D4 times E4. Here we're saying D5 times E5 with just a different method of doing the math. So I could use a built-in function like product, or I can set it to a formula that I specify. Either way is fine. Now we can copy that formula down so that it's included for all of our columns. Now I copied the one that did the product, but either one would be fine. Grab right here on that little square so it turns to that black, and you have to grab it right there for it to auto do it. Did I get it?
Yeah. I keep grabbing the box. No, because it bothers me.
So we're going to fix it later. Don't worry about all the stuff. It's kind of hard to read, but we're going to fix it. Okay, our federal tax. In column G4, now our federal tax is equal to 0.22 times our gross pay, which is the one we just calculated. So I'm going to click there to pop it into my formula.
So change the titles.
Minus, now I want what I'm going to subtract here to be within parentheses because I want this to happen first. I want the dependents times 24.32. Now let's look at that formula. We're saying we want to take the number of dependents times 24.32. We want to subtract that from our gross pay. Then we want to multiply that by 0.22. So based on the order of precedence, is that formula going to be correct, or do we need more parentheses? It's kind of hard to look at, isn't it? Here's the formula they gave us. They say 0.22 times gross pay minus dependents times 24.32. So we need parentheses around gross pay minus the dependents. So I can change this data in either place. I can click up here in the formula bar and type those parentheses. Or I can type them down here where I'm editing the cell, either one. It's sometimes a little easier to use the formula bar up here because then everything's just specific and you're not seeing extra stuff.
Oh, very good.
So now I'm saying multiply C4, which is the number of dependents, times 24.32. Subtract that from F4, which is our gross pay, and then multiply it by 0.22. Now, if you've got that formula looking right, press enter to save it in your federal tax column. Then we should be able to grab that handle and autofill that column. Now, that formula was a little bit more complicated. We had to do some typing to enter some data. Yes, sir?
So she keeps getting 0 for answering. She's typing it in exactly how.
Let's see.
You think I could give a different answer if it's in a different column?
Yeah, if something's not right, let's check and see what's going on with it. Ah, pull my glasses off. Silly thing.
Excel's doing its own thing.
I thought we can find it.
I did get I had a couple of my columns mixed up, and these ones I did have mixed, so I just switched them for the time being. But it's like whenever, see, I have it typed in like normal, but then it goes right to 0 whenever it equals up. Oh, just like.
Yeah, like the questions.
Oh,
exactly.
start out at the very beginning. See.
Or give us space.
Four, two, four.
Give us space. It's not a-
I'm missing one. Well, that's my gross pay.
Oh, so switch it over.
Okay.
Yeah, because she accidentally typed it in there.
Okay, so, okay,
Or just use G4 instead of E.
okay.
That's what it is.
Oh, G, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
It's the wrong side.
I didn't know which one. Okay.
That's
Yeah,
his
that got
right.
me
That's his
confused,
right.
too. That got me
It's on the
Because I
other
know I
side.
switched I switched the two columns, but I wasn't,
That
it
should
didn't make
do
sense
it.
why it was doing that. But it makes sense
No,
now.
I was thinking the same thing. I was on the same level as you. It's like, wait, why is
What
it?
in the world?
Okay, what about state tax? Now, our state tax is a little bit complicated too, but not nearly as bad. It is equal to 0.04 times your gross pay. So again, we can just click in that cell and that'll pop that cell address into our formula. Press enter to create that calculation, and then we should just be able to copy it down.
What was it, 0.04 times what?
Times your gross pay. Now, whenever you're setting up all of your calculations, don't forget your order of operations. So it's that, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, PEMDAS acronym, where we say, what happens first? Well, first we have percentages, exponentiation, multiplication, division, addition, and subtraction. And of course, our parentheses are going to alter our order of operations. So as long as we remember our PEMDAS rules, we're okay. Now, some other great things that they show in the text. Let's look at some of these formulas here. Won't zoom in much more. But if we just set a cell equal to another cell, it just assigns that cell's value to the current cell. We could set something equal to an actual calculation, like 2 to the power of 4 plus 7. We could set something equal to 100 plus a cell, or a cell plus 100. We could use parentheses or not in that formula. It's all optional. We could say we wanted to set something equal to 25% times a number, and that would handle it properly. We could also say that we wanted to use a negative value as a beginning. So our minus sign is going to take the place of our equal sign when we want to do a formula. Now, we can also use point mode, and that's what I use a lot. Let's use that for our next one. Come on, you silly thing. I got zoomed in enough that I can't find my next arrow. There it is. Okay, so I want to do this for the tax percent. Let's see what we've got here. Okay, so our tax percent column is going to equal our federal tax. So notice how when I point and clicked there, it put that cell location into my formula. So now that I know that my federal tax is part of that formula, G4, then I'm going to type the plus sign. Then I'm going to click on the state tax column. So that adds my H4 to that formula. And then I want to divide by my gross pay. So I'm going to click on that column. Now that put everything in using point mode. The only issue is I need some parentheses because I want this addition to happen before this division. So I'm going to put parentheses around my addition, G4 plus H4. So I end up with equal parenthesis G4 plus H4 close parenthesis slash F4. So my tax percent for this employee was 0.25 or 25%. Now I'm going to drag that down to have that tax percent column for all of my employees. Now with our net pay, we'll use the point method again. I'm going to set my equal sign, and I want to use my gross pay column, so I'll put that in. Now I want to subtract from it federal tax plus my state tax, and I know that I want those within parentheses, so I'm going to go ahead and type that open parenthesis. Then I can click on my federal tax column, type my plus sign, click on my state tax column, and close my parenthesis.
Can you say the formula one more time?
So I end up with equal F4 minus open parenthesis G4 plus H4 close parenthesis. And I want to copy that down. Okay, so we saw we could type in the exact formula. We can use the formula builder tool here. We can use point mode where we click at the different things that we want to use. So many different ways for us to enter formulas. In your textbook and in the training, when they show you all the different options, do try them. You know, kind of experiment with them. I'm not a massive Excel user, so you can probably help us all to do better. Now, if I want to add a new employee, of course, if I am on line 13, and you can just watch here because it's not part of our text, but if I right-click and say I want to insert, then I might have the same formatting as the line above, but I could just right-click and copy, and then I could paste. Now, when we paste, notice all of the different paste special options. First of all, we can paste the thing just the way it was. We can paste values only. We can paste formulas only. That would be a good thing for me to do. I can paste transpose. Paste transpose is a really great thing for if you want to flip your rows and your columns. So we can do that. We can also just copy and paste our formatting or just a link. So I'm going to say that I want to paste just my formulas, and I should see that I get those formula values included in my new row. I still have my data too. And then if I didn't like it, I could Control Z to undo and Control Z again because I'd actually inserted. So to try experimenting with Excel a little bit while we're on these sample ones so that you can see how you move things around. Let's save, and that's a good stopping point. Next time when we come back, we'll get all our formatting set so that we would be ready to print this thing out and get some totals going. So we have a little bit more to do with our spreadsheet. Questions? Problems? Working? Great. I'm going to save that and get out of here. You guys have a great day.